often as an affirmation for richer living. This prayer is going to pull something into our thoughts that's going to give us something all day long to think about, to dwell on, to repeat perhaps, to bring us closer in our awareness that God is always working everything to our good. So let's begin by saying these words to ourselves. Today I expect the more abundant life. Say that to yourself. Today I expect the more abundant life. Now let's say it out loud. Today I expect the more abundant life. Remember, we don't get what we want. We get what we expect. So today, tell yourself, today I expect the more abundant life. By keeping my every thought and expectation open to new experiences, to happier events, to a more complete self-expression. Giving out more love, I know a greater love in return. Sharing with life whatever good things I have, I know life shares with me the good that it possesses. Seeing beauty everywhere, I have a revelation of still more beauty. Seeing joy in everything, I know genuine laughter. More deeply sensing the divine tranquility in which all things exist, I have a deeper consciousness of peace and security. Through it all, I know that I am in the embrace of a warm, loving presence, forever seeking an outlet through me. And so it is, amen. And so it is, amen. So let's just take that expectation of the more abundant life, the more, the more abundant health, the more abundant success and prosperity and happiness and joy and creative expression, and just let that ring true for us in our mind. Tell yourself, this is the truth for me right now. This is the truth. This is the truth, and I'm living this truth with expectation that the more abundant life will be revealed to me today in all manner of things, in all manner of ways. And so we just open our mind, our heart, and our soul to receive that which we believe to be true for ourselves. So once again, this is The Way to a Wonderful Life. I am Reverend Dr. Henry Lee Bates, and our Way to a Wonderful Life message for today is titled, Recognize God as All Power. Recognize God as all power. You know, we read in the book of Isaiah, I am the Lord. Besides me, there is none other. Besides me, there is no thing. So we know that anything that appears in our world, appears in our experience, that's unlike God, unlike the good, unlike the nature of love and happiness and peace and joy and harmony and beauty, tranquility. We know that it's not of God, so therefore it's just a shadow of a truth. It's a shadow of life, and that shadow will go away in the right and perfect way, in the right and perfect time as we turn our attention back to God, to the great unseen, the great invisible good that is unfolding for each and every one of us. Excuse me. Let's look at these words from the American mystic Ernest Holmes. He tells us, there is a universal mind, spirit, intelligence that is the origin of everything. It is first cause, it is God. This universal life and energy finds an outlet in and through all that is energized, all that is life, and through everything that lives. There is one life back of everything that lives. There is one energy back of all that is energized. This energy is in everything. There is one spirit back of all expression. That is the meaning of that mystical saying, in Him, in the Spirit, we live and move and have our being. The life which we live is the universal life expressing through us, else how could we live? Our thought and emotion is the use we make, consciously or unconsciously, of this original creative thing that is the cause of everything. Therefore, we shall say that the mind, spirit, and intelligence which we find in ourselves is as much of this original creative God as we understand. That this is not robbing God is a self-evident fact. Since we are real and actual and have existence, and since we can reduce all that is to a fundamental unit, we find that we have this proposition and that it is the truth. That's from the American mystic Ernest Holmes. As we understand that the Spirit is living in and through us, we need not look any further than what we see around us to gain the awareness that God can only do for us what God can do through us. We each are living to the sum total of what we choose to believe and what we choose to accept for ourselves. Now, this is not to say that we are to blame for the calamities that appear in our lives. Blame or self-denigration or self-depreciation or self-defeating. All things come to our awareness for us to examine our beliefs in the light of truth. In the light of truth. There's so many things in the world that the world believes, and we are subject to that collective consciousness. We didn't come into this world believing in all manner of things that the world believes in. We didn't come into this world with a sense of separation from God and from each other. We learned all these things from the world. And just as our mind has been impressed by the collective consciousness that believes in war and believes in superiorities and inferiorities and saints and sinners and sin and evil and all that stuff, we're going to find unconsciously that we accept some of it, and that's why these things show up in our life sometimes, that we must learn to reject anything unlike God as the nothingness, as we read in the book of Isaiah. Besides me there is no thing, besides me there is nothingness, and allow it to pass away. This too shall pass. Just as we read in the Scripture, this too shall pass. No thing shall offend me. Let's look at some more words from the wonderful American mystic Ernest Holmes. He says, we are bound because we are first free. The power which appears to bind us is the only power in the universe that can free us. This is why Jesus summed up his whole philosophy in this simple statement, it is done unto you as you believe. That believe and that as symbolize heaven and hell. And so we suffer not because suffering is imposed upon us, but because we are ignorant of our true nature. And so we suffer not because suffering is imposed upon us, but because we are ignorant of our true nature. And I wouldn't say use the word ignorant myself. I would just say we're unaware. We're unaware of our true nature. Dr. Holmes isn't calling us ignorant. He's just saying we don't know. We don't know. We don't know all there is to know. But in faith, we can draw more into our mentality, draw more into our consciousness, and know the greater things. The joy of the Lord is my strength. I can say that. The intelligence of God is my intelligence. The Spirit of God is my spirit. The love of God is the love that I express in all things that I do. The creative expression is the creative mind of God working through my mind to create greater things in my life. These are all things that we can say that are absolutely true, that'll shift our mind towards a greater good. Now, I believe that we suffer because we are unaware of the truth that all things work to our good, because we don't recognize God as all power. We must recognize God, good, as all power. No power other than God. Besides him, besides the power, the intelligence, and the Spirit of God, there is no thing. Excuse me. I have great certainty that a positive faith is more powerful than positive thinking, because faith depends on what? It depends on seeing the things that we have faith in. Faith is the thing that gives us the certainty that God is working with us. God is working through us. Jesus didn't say, it is done unto you as you think, but instead used the word believe, believe, believe in God, because believing in God energizes our faith, energizes our faith. A lot of people don't like to use the word God, because the word God has been used by so many people to create awful things. You know, the Muslim extremists kill people in the name of Allah, when Allah is their word for God. They kill people for saying Allah who aren't Muslim. This is the craziness that mankind has created in our world. But God is a good word. God. God and good, synonymous. God and love, synonymous. God and life, synonymous. Imagine that if someone with a positive faith in the good may experience adversity, that they will transcend it, move through it, and often will have an even greater faith still. There's There's nothing complex about it. It is simple and easily understood, yet it is not easily accepted because we see so much that appears to contradict this in the world. So we let the appearances deny our faith because we believe in what we see more than in what we believe. We believe in what we see more than in what we believe. So we must take our mind off the material, take our mind off the things of the world, and allow our mind to focus on the unseen. The unseen. The greatest truth that man who prays without ceasing is the man who ever carries about with him the realization that my Father worketh hereto, that hitherto, and I work. Thus, prayer is part of the creative life of God. It reveals the divine grace, and the divine grace is no respecter of persons. That's from the great Horatio Dresser. To turn from the thought of the process to the thought of its goal is to draw the attention with its accompanying power away from the nervous wear and tear of life and refresh one's soul. In other words, ideals have power, and not alone because they elevate the thought, but because our conduct is affected by them. So when we say, today I expect the abundant life, or today I declare that God is all power, we're speaking to a truth that works, just like 2 times 2 equals 4. It's a truth that works, and it works for everyone, no matter what label the world may call you, whether you are a Christian or a Muslim or a Catholic or a Mormon or an atheist or an agnostic. It does not matter. It does not matter whether you're educated or uneducated. Even a child can grasp the meaning that when we expect good things show up. We want to put our faith in the principle that God is all power. That's a principle that Jesus gave us. It is the Father that doeth the work, he said. Always it's the Father. So let's put our mind on that which gives us that greater feeling of enjoying life, that greater feeling of being one with life, that greater feeling of acknowledging and recognizing this all power which is God. So we must recognize the power in the universe as God, and we must recognize there is a power in the universe and we can use it, but first we must recognize it as power, and then we must foster and nurture a positive faith that it will work for us, through us, for in truth, it is the life of us. At first, our mind may find it difficult to accept that this infinite presence we call God is in us as us, but it's not difficult if we think of intelligence. Intelligence, it's intelligence that beats our heart. It's intelligence that moves through our mind to open our eyes to see with vision. It's intelligence that hears through our ears and can understand what we hear. It's intelligence that can lift our awareness away from the things of the past that created so much turmoil in the world. All the thoughts of separation, all the thoughts of divisive politics and divisive religions, all the beliefs in saints and sinners and all that nonsense. God is the only thing. God is life. This thing called life is within each and every one of us because we are life. And life moves through our mind, our heart, and our soul as intelligence and as power, but we must accept it. To contemplate the infinite, infinitely individualized, is easier to grasp when we realize that we all have unique fingerprints and unique voices. No one can imitate our voice exactly. And even though there's billions of people on the planet, no 2 people have the same fingerprint. That's the infinite individualization of God, God's mind, intelligence, spirit, and power. Its image and likeness as us. DNA researchers have found that we are unique in multiple ways, in some ways beyond our imagination. Beyond our imagination. Let's start accepting that we don't know everything. And I love it when people say, oh, they speak for God or God said. Well, anything that comes to the human mind, we know that it's the spirit of what God is that moves through us, not the words. Words have different meanings for different people. In the Aramaic language of Jesus, son meant a part of. A part of. All kinds of things had symbols for people. Angels meant a new idea. Ideas were angels. So we know that we must be something into our mind that says, beyond even my imagination, there is a greater power and intelligence and spirit that's always working things to my good. I don't have to know how it does it. I just must see myself, in the way God sees me. In its own, God's own image, likeness, strength and power and faith and spirit and love and joy and peace just moving through my mind, my heart, and my soul, and all that I do. Let's go back to some words from the American mystic Ernest Holmes one more time. We cannot recognize that it is while we are believing that it is not. Hence, it is written, they entered not in because of unbelief. We may enter in because of our belief, but we cannot enter while there is unbelief. Here we come to a house divided against itself. If we say we can only experience a little good, then we shall experience but a little good. But if we say with Emerson, there is no great and no small to the soul that maketh all, then we may experience a greater good because we have conceived it. Therefore, our belief sets the limit to our demonstration of a principle which of itself is without limit. It is ready to fill everything because it is infinite. So it is not a question of its willingness nor its ability. It is entirely a question of our own receptivity. Our own receptivity. How much can we believe? We either have faith or we don't. Faith is a straight line. It means I believe that I will receive. I expect a more abundant life. That's a straight line. And we must focus on it and see it as true for us, even if it involves an ideal that maybe is a little beyond our expectation, but we know as long as our mind is focused on the good, then something good will be added into us. Just as the Mastermind Jesus said, our mind be stayed on God. All good things will be added into us. So let's take that extra good and let's begin to realize it's good for ourselves, that we must realize that faith is a straight line, no wavering. No wavering. We either believe that it is or we believe that it is not. So as Ernest Holmes tells us, we cannot recognize that God is the all-power while believing that it is not. Now, how do we believe that it is not? By giving power to things in the world. By giving power to things in the world. We can't look east and west at the same time, north and south at the same time. We have to keep our mind stayed on the good, stayed on God. And realize this, as the Mastermind Jesus tells us, that the kingdom of God is within us, not low here or low there, and not let ourselves be disturbed. Be disturbed. Let this heaven be disturbed, this kingdom of God be disturbed by dwelling on thoughts that disturb our mind. Letting doubt and worry, which are just stepchildren of fear, start dwelling in our mind. We cannot waver in our belief that good is without limitation, that there is only good, not good and evil. Evil is just a shadow of good. Evil is lived spelled backwards, God upside down. Good looked at in the wrong way. That's what gives it an appearance. That's what gives it a seeming power. But we just recognize that there's only one power. That power is God. That power is all power, and it's a power for good. Right where we are. We must be willing to discard the duality. The belief in God and something else. The belief that God and the devil. The belief that evil has the same power as good. We must release it. We must release fear from our mind and start allowing ourselves to say, I know that there's a power that's working for my good in all ways and in all things, and I am allowing that good to be made manifest in my life experience in the right and perfect time, in the right and perfect way, and loose the fear. Dr. O.C. Smith stated, fear is the child of an undeveloped consciousness. And so we must develop our consciousness with a positive faith in the good for us and good for everyone, without limitation. We can develop this faith in the greater good right now, by conditioning our mind to accept that which is greater, that which is of the truth, which is God. We are bound because we are first free. The power which appears to bind us is the only power in the universe that can free us. That's the power of mind. There is a universal mind, spirit, intelligence that is the origin of everything. It is first cause. It is God. This universal life and energy finds an outlet in and through all that is energized and through everything that lives, and that includes you and me. There is one life back of everything that lives, every living thing. There is one energy back of all that is energized. This energy is in everything. There is one spirit back of all expression. And this is the meaning of that mystical saying, in Him, in the Spirit, in the intelligence, in the power of God, we live and move and have our being. The life which we live is a universal life expressing through us. Else, how could we live? Our thought and emotion is the use we make of it. Our thought and emotion is the use that we make of it. Consciously or unconsciously. The use that we make of this original creative thing that is the cause of everything. This power, this intelligence, this spirit. Therefore, we shall say that the mind, spirit, and intelligence which we find in ourselves is as much of this original creative part of God as we understand. Remember, Son is a part of God. God so loved us that God incarnated within each and every one of us its own image and likeness, a part of its own spirit, its own intelligence, its own power. So let's declare this is so and let it be so. Let it be so as we condition our mind to accept that greater good. Let's just say to ourselves this morning, good and more good is mine, and ever-increasing good is mine. Say it out loud. Good and more good is mine, and ever-increasing good is mine. Everywhere I go, I see the good. I get a sense of being a part of the good. And I realize that God, all power, is drawing to me all the good that is necessary for me to have enough to share and to spare right now, right where I am. And so it is.